The thing we'd like to talk about right now is the ready position for skiing. This is the most important aspect of learning to ski, and that's getting into a good stance for balance. We have three things that we want to remember. Number one, and the most important, is that we flex our ankles until we feel a light contact with the front of the boot. That movement is made in the ankles. Ankles till you feel light contact with the front of the boot. The next thing is that we want our hands spread and slightly forward. The third one, and the hardest one, is to look where we want to be, not down in front of the skis. Okay, quick review. Light contact with the front of the boot by pressing the ankles forward. Hands spread and forward. Number three, look where you want to be. Let's look at how that ties in with the equipment. When we put the skis on, if we have light contact with the front of the boot and our hands forward and looking ahead, that applies pressure right here on the front of the ski. That makes the skis where the tips won't cross, and it makes them very easy to turn. If we lose that contact, that makes the fronts light and they go all over the place and they're very hard to turn. So the number one most important thing is light contact with the front of the boot all of the time. The reason that we put our hands forward like this is because it facilitates that light contact with the front of the boot. If we let the hands come back, it pulls our body back and we lose the contact with the front of the boot. We lose the contact with the front of the skis. So that's why the arms are spread and forward. This makes these like balancing tools. If you think about like you were going to bounce a basketball, you want your arms to be loose, not rigid, because it affects your shoulders. Hands are loose for balance. We use these as balancers. So we have light contact with the front, hands slightly forward and loose at waist level. Number three is looking ahead. Look what happens right here when I look down. Okay? Because my spine is tied to my head, when I look down, it makes my fanny go back. Puts you in the back of the ski. You lose contact with the front. That's why it's so important. Light contact with the front of the boot. Hands spread and forward. Look where you want to be. If you're on the front of the skis and you look this way, the skis roll up like this, they will turn themselves. The next thing that we want to do is if we want to turn the skis, all we have to do is twist our feet. We don't do it up here, it's all down here. If you want to go to the left, you just twist your feet to the left. You don't roll the shoulders. It's all down here. We ski with our feet. You want to go this way? Twist your feet that way. But it's very, very important. Always keep that light contact with the front of the boots. Hands spread and forward, and look where you want to go. The skis will take you there. Let's look at some of the most common errors. All right, so to start, let's just look at that ready position again. That light contact with the front of the boots. Hands spread and forward, and look where you want to be. Almost all ski errors result in not staying in that position. And here's what we see. All right, we see people dropping their hands. You lose contact with the front of the boot. You rotate your hands, you lose contact with the front of the boot. If you look down, your butt goes back. You lose contact with the front of the boot. That's why it's so important to look where you want to be. Keep your hands spread and forward. And you want to use them for balance. If you get your hands too high, look what it does to your shoulders. It brings everything back. You go to the back of your boots. That's why your hands need to be at waist level and slightly forward. All right? Just look at a small change. Look what happens to the shoulders. Okay? Look what happens with the shoulders if you rotate your hand back. You lose your stance. You lose your balance. That's why you fall, or your skis don't turn. The skis have turns built into them, but you've got to stay on the front of the skis. Light contact with the front to more contact at the end of a turn. At the start of a turn, neutral position, light contact. Finish of the turn. Flex that ankle, ankle, ankle forward. It's not lean. We're not trying to lean on the plastic. It's all in the ankle. Okay, so maintain that contact with the front of the boot. Hands spread. Slightly forward. Look where you want to be. Here's another big problem. People bend over at the waist. Well, look where all of your weight went. It's right here. It went back. We've got to stand up so that our center is over our feet. Okay? Then when we push our hands forward, we have light contact with the front of the boot. Try to avoid excessive bending at the waist. Try to avoid looking at your feet. Okay? And try to avoid trying to turn with your shoulders.